Hey, it's Elisa, Half Asian Tarot Queen, back for another reading. Pulling out my Mystical Shaman Oracle. So I've really been on a tear with that one lately, but I've been getting some really powerful messages from it, and it seems like a powerful message kind of day, so I'm gonna go with it. But oh my gosh, so there have been yesterday there was a reading and it came out and it was the calm before the storm, and so it was all, until I got like halfway through the reading and I'm like, what storm? This is like really beautiful, like this is great, you could see all this beautiful stuff on the horizon. But then at the end, like this pile of cards just popped out, and it was just sort of like, like when you watch the first Friday the 13th, and it's like they're just like riding in this boat on this serene pond, and there's classical music playing in the background, and you're like, oh, happy ending, and then like Jason like jumps out of the water and it's like, it was kind of like that, like it was a calm before the storm of just like taking this moment to focus on what you want, because you're gonna have to move through some sort of conflict to get there, and then at the end the conflict kind of surfaced, so we got some inkling that was on the horizon, and that was an energy that we're gonna have to move through yesterday. So I thought that today I would pull to see where it went, what happens after that, because you know forewarned is forearmed, they say, and so it's good to know where we're going. So yeah, I'm pulling. So I've got Taming the Wind on the bottom of the deck. So okay, then I pulled for the overall energies the Blade. This message is so right on. The Hunter, and then the Sweat Lodge. It's crazy how all these messages come together. And again, this is another instance where it's just like, they seem like they just like visually even go together. But okay, so to the messages. So this Taming the Wind, which is the messages on the bottom of the deck. So it talks about sort of having reverence for, the messages that you might be getting from the spiritual realm, so it's kind of, and there's like this big feather here, and like, I don't know, to me it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Forrest Gump, but he people thought, he was never going to make it in life because, he was like intellectually challenged or whatever, but actually he just followed his intuition, and that totally led him on his path that he was meant to do, and it was beautiful. So in some ways, like, he was way ahead of the game because he didn't get like bogged down in a lot of the morass that a lot of people get sidetracked by in life. And so there would be these big turning points in his life, and this feather would like fall, like this, there was this whole thing about this feather that would kind of fall whenever he was like sort of like being guided through some sort of transition in life. And so that's kind of like this card, is to just like pay attention to where you're being guided, and then it really goes with all these messages. So this blade, it's kind of like, in a way, analogous to the Ace of Swords, but it's just like, you have to step, this is a moment where you're going to have to take your power back, and so you're going to have to cut through some kind of situation that's like, blocking your evolution or who you need to be. You might have to tell a truth that doesn't want to be told, sever some sort of toxic relationship, in order to come into alignment with who you're meant to be, you know. And this is like such a message that's been going along with the new year, and also just this whole realignment that everyone's kind of going through right now with the decade, because it's just like, yeah, you know, you're gonna have to give something up to make room for the new, and sometimes you're gonna have to cut through maybe a long-standing situation that was bad for you, you know. But you know, the caution with this card is to just, you know, don't use it as a weapon. You know, you're using it, you know, make a clean cut, tell the truth, and that's it. You know, like, don't use it to like wound other people, you know, because this is a powerful weapon, and you have to use it with, you know, reverence for its power and also for other people, you know. So it's a powerful weapon, but be careful, you know. And then we have the Hunter. And so this is a card all about, you know, it kind of goes along with this, you know, where it's like the Hunter, like, takes exactly what he needs, and he doesn't take more, you know, and he follows the guidance, you know, he follows the guidance from the feather, you know, and he kind of builds his own map, you know, as he goes. He's not following somebody else's path. Like, he's following his own guidance, to sort of search out the bounty that's meant for him, you know. And then we have the sweat lodge. So this is kind of like, it represents almost like a healing process where you sort of go into like your darkness and you figure out what's not serving you, and it's just you have to let it go, you know. You have to offer it up to the universe and let it be transformed, you know. So whatever it is that you need to cut out, you know, be judicious, you know, don't cut out any more than you need. But whatever it is that's not serving you anymore, it's time to let that go, and it's time to walk a new path, because there's something else on the other end of this tunnel for you, and you're gonna have to let something go. You're gonna have to walk through the fire and be transformed to get to the other side. So that really goes along with the message, you know. I feel like I even said the words "walk through the fire" in yesterday's reading, you know. Like, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to traverse the storm, you know, and that's part of the transformation, you know. But then on the other side of this, you will be transformed. So I'm going to the Radiant Wise Spirit to get, you know, some more energies for the reading. And like, we get this Queen of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So this is a no-nonsense queen. Oh my gosh. We got the Queen of Swords and we got the Four of Wands, which is crazy because when I pulled the deck out yesterday, it was like the Four of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles, I think. Like, we're slowly moving towards this new stability, this new foundation, this new commitment. But in order to do that, we're going to have to cut through maybe some sort of toxic situation. We're going to have to tell the truth, and we're going to have to transform our situation, you know, which requires someone like the Queen of Swords, which is like, you know, this is like the queen who just tells the truth, and she can be harsh, you know, or people will perceive her as harsh, but really she's just being direct, and she's just saying what she needs, because she doesn't take any guff. She doesn't waste time on situations that aren't serving her, because she's already kind of learned those lessons, and she's already, you know, figured out like what she's about, and she's not going to waste any time on anything less than that, you know, because she's already fought that battle. So yeah, it definitely seems like we're approaching the moment where you have to kind of like walk through the fire, and it's just sort of like you know, it's sort of like you have to kind of like, it's like a moment of reckoning where it's like you have to like just expose your truth and let it be what it is, and there's going to be some judgment that's going to be made, but then on the other side of that, like, there's going to be a whole new world, you know. So okay, so one more card, because yeah, I'm trying to get some sort of guidance. You know, these are difficult moments but transformative, you know. And so yeah, we have the Queen of Wands on the bottom of the deck here. So she came up a lot in readings like maybe a week or two ago, and I'll try to link one of the, I mean, I feel like there were several readings, but I'll try to link one of the relevant ones, because you know, she can signify the other woman, and she was coming up in this storyline, and I feel like it was coming up in the Epic Love Saga, but also the Divine Feminine thread, about she was like the other woman, you know, but she was like an inspiration that was sort of like drawing, she was kind of inspiring someone to transform out of their situation, and this masculine figure had a deep love for her, and that was like compelling him to move forward out of the situation that he was in, you know. So we'll see how this plays out in this reading. But for overall energies, we have the Eight of Wands. So this is a message coming through, or it can be some quick action, you know, like some message of significance is coming through. And then right after that, we have the Seven of Cups, which is a card of just like all these options, not really knowing what to do. It's a card of sort of confusion. So, you know, it's like some message is coming through and shaking things up and like causing a lot of confusion, where it's just like, what the hell's going on here? You know, like, and this message that's coming through is coming right under this Blade card. So it's just like, whatever this is, it's like, it's a transformative message, you know. And then we have the King of Pentacles. So this can be an earth sign, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. This is a grounded, stable, like, he's like the patriarch of a family. But what's interesting is this is the main character in a thread that's been recurring on the channel called Phoenix. And this character, the King of Pentacles, was sort of just like downtrodden, nose to the grindstone, had just been like working, you know, his nose to the grindstone. But he was going through this process where he had to learn this karmic lesson, you know. He had been blocked from a love, you know, so his story was kind of intersecting with the epic love story. But he had his counterpart, but he was being blocked from that by this toxic situation. And the karmic lesson that he had to learn was that he had to right some wrong that had happened to her so that he could reconnect, you know. And so there was some wrong that needed to be righted, some truth that needed to be told, which is interesting because this is totally coming up right now. And then in doing that, he was going to ascend, you know, by learning his karmic lesson. It was going to trigger an ascension event for him. He was going to ascend into an emperor, and then the thread kind of evolved into the dynasty thread. So those two threads are like connected by a karmic lesson, which is really interesting. Because yeah, I feel like I've been getting some like foreshadowing messages about that event happening since like New Year's, basically. So yeah, like, I wonder if that has something to do with this fire that needs to be walked through. Okay, so I'm pulling out my Chinese Rider-Waite Tarot just to get some more clarity about what the hell's going on here. At the bottom of this deck, we have the Three of Cups, which is a card of reunion. Oh my gosh, and we have a Fool card. So someone just like taking a leap of faith and reuniting with their tribe or love, or just feel like it was in yesterday's reading where there was someone reuniting with a love from the past. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday's reading, but which is interesting because, you know, it was like that message came through, but it was just like, but, you know, and it's all beautiful and you're going to reunite with your soulmate, but you have to walk through the storm first, you know. So it's interesting that that came out again. But I'm going to pull a couple more cards just to see, because it definitely, it was funny because before I started this, I'm like, okay, so we had this foreshadowing event that, you know, some big storm was going to happen. And then the, you know, the story that's coming out now is like pretty, it's kind of a storm. It's just like all about having to cut ties and some toxic relationship and go through some transformative moment, you know, which is pretty in line with that. Okay, so at the bottom here, I have the Three of Pentacles, which is basically a new foundation, like a solid new foundation that's kind of coming online. So I have the Knight of Wands, which is interesting because there is a whole thread about this character because he's been totally recurring on the channel. He's like, this guy is kind of like a player energy. He's like a real Casanova. Like, the ladies love him. He's super charming. And he gets all the ladies, but he's not real reliable and he doesn't really stick around, like, you know, but he's real charming, you know. He's just not Mr. Reliable, you know. He's not exactly marriage material, we'll just say that. And it's interesting because this player thread, I think, has been intersecting with this storyline that I spoke of about, like, you know, this epic love story being blocked by this toxic situation. So we'll see how that plays out. And the next card we get is the Seven of Swords, which is a card of deception. So this can be like lying to yourself, you know, self-deception. It can be like lying to other people, but oftentimes, you know, this energy will come up when you're just kind of trying to keep the peace. You're trying to, you know, please other people, and you're just trying not to rock the boat, you know. But that can be a toxic situation for yourself if you, like, keep that up. And that's really interesting because this whole reading is about taking this blade and cutting this out, you know, and anything that's not serving you or that's blocking you from who you need to be, like, needs to be severed now, you know. Like, that's what this is going down, you know. So it's like this Casanova guy, you know, it looks like he's been, like, keeping something under wraps, but whatever that is, he's either keeping it from other people or keeping it from himself or both, you know. He's being blocked from who he's supposed to be, you know, and there's this blade that, like, needs to, like, come through, you know. And it's, you know, crazy because this whole message, this earth-shattering message, is coming right over him and right under the blade. And then the next card we have is the Judgment card. You know, so this is, it's crazy because I was, like, talking about how there was, like, going to be some reckoning that was going to happen, and with this Sweat Lodge card, and this card falls right under that, you know, which that's what this means. It's like a reckoning is happening. Some karmic judgment is being cast. So whatever this guy has been hiding from himself or from other people, like, it's coming to light, and karma is about to, you know, come down on whatever that situation is. So the other thing that's interesting is that this Deception card is right under this Seven of Wands. So, you know, that definitely can cause confusion. Like, when people don't know the truth, or, you know, someone's not being honest with themselves or other people, like, that causes confusion because people don't really, they don't know what's going on, you know. So then, on the next row, we have the Eight of Wands. So this is a card, it's like a dedicated, hard-working effort, you know. So this can be a card of like a craftsman. Like this is it can represent that energy, but it's also just representing someone who's just like working hard towards making something happen. So this Knight of Wands, Casanova, Don Juan guy, like there's some message and it's coming through, and it's like he's gonna have to tell the truth, and whatever that is, it's not gonna be an easy task to like set whatever this is right, you know, like it's gonna be work. And then we have, this is so perfect, over this deception card and the confusion, and we have the Two of Pentacles. So this is a card of juggling, you know, of just like being wishy-washy, like not really making commitment one way or the other, but just kind of trying to juggle situations, which is totally all about what this guy is doing. Like he's got like one lady over here, one lady over here. He's like juggling all these balls in the air, and he's like, I don't really want to make a decision about this because I'm just going to keep juggling balls in the air. Meanwhile, there's all these people that are confused. They're being deceived because they're like not really sure why this guy's all over the place, and he's not really telling the truth, you know, because he's just like kind of all over the place, which is like this card is just sort of about like, don't take more than you need, you know. You need to be true to yourself and follow your guidance, you know, because otherwise what you're going to do is you're going to make a big mess, which is kind of what's going on. Like this guy's juggling like all these ladies and creating all kinds of drama, and it's just like this is so crazy. The judgment's happening, like the truth's coming out. But what's crazy is we get the Hierophant, which this can be a card of like marriage, you know. And I swear there was a video, like it must have been like 3 months ago, and it was like with this guy, this character, and it totally intersected with this King of Pentacles thread, because this King of Pentacles and this Knight of Wands, they were like the same person, and like he was being blocked from love with his counterpart because of some sort of toxic situation involving like a stalker. And like in order for him to like, it's like this guy was actually, he was sick of being a player and he wanted to settle down. Like he wanted to connect with his counterpart, but in order to do that, he was going to have to tell the truth. He was going to have to out this stalker, and that's what was going to finally make the situation right, you know. So it's interesting because it's almost like the same storyline. I'm going to have to link that video. I'll find it. That's coming through here, but it's just sort of like this King of Pentacles, there's some judgment coming through, and like he's settling down, like he's transforming, like he's going from the King of Pentacles to like the Hierophant, you know, like he's settling down, like he's committing to something, you know. And so maybe that's the transformation that that's going on. Like he's transforming, he's walking through this fire, and he's turning from this to like a committed dude, you know, which these are like polar opposites, you know. So that's a pretty big transformation. So it's just like, okay, you know, like Jason's coming out of the water with that. I'm gonna pull 3 more cards from the big one, the big deck, and see. Oh my god, that's so crazy. Okay, this is getting crazy. Okay, I just got 2 more cards that I'm gonna pull, but this is a crazy this is a crazy reading, but I love it. Like, I love it when these coincidences happen because, yeah, the tarot is magical. So, all right. Okay, so I just got like a bunch of cards that just flipped out. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is an extra card that flopped out. So this is like the Hermit card. So this can be a Virgo energy, but it's also just sort of like when you kind of withdraw and like listen to your spiritual guidance, which totally goes along with all of these messages, like, you know, following the feather, you know, follow your own intuition, your own guidance, you know, don't take more than you need, but like you got to tap into your, you know, where you're supposed to be going and not be misled by like everybody else's agenda, you know. Okay. So this Knight of Wands, Don Juan guy who has some earth-shattering message that he's going to have to work through, which is like him cutting through some sort of toxic situation that's been holding him back and just like making a clean cut. Well, on top of that, we get this Page of Swords, which can be a message of truth or clarity coming through, but there's a whole thread. This can also be a stalker energy, which is crazy because I was just saying there was some video several years ago where this guy was being blocked from his love by some toxic stalker situation, and there's a whole thread about this stalker situation called Stalkers on the channel, so I would definitely go back and look at this, but like, it's crazy because I was just saying that, and then the freaking stalker card falls on top of him. Like, okay, that's crazy. And then, so on top of this confusing situation, you know, because he's like juggling like all these ladies and like nobody knows what's going on and everybody's confused, we have the Page of Cups, which is like, it's an offer of love, like it's a message of love, but it's like a sweet, innocent one, you know? So it's just like, you know, it's kind of like the opposite of like this playing the field juggling thing, because this is like actually really sweet and innocent from the heart, you know? So that's falling on top of that pile of rubbish, you know, crazy. And then on top of this transformative event, which is happening to this King of Pentacles, where he's like basically this reckoning is happening and he's like settling down. On top of that, we get the Ten of Cups, which is totally happiness, abundance, fertility, family. It's just like settling down and being happy, you know? So it's like all these cards fall out, which are like exactly what I was just saying. It's crazy. I love the tarot. Okay, so I'm going to pull one from Sacred Traveler just to finish out the reading. But like, I guess this is some sort of foreshadowing event about what's coming down the pipe. Like, lightning's about to strike, and apparently Mr. Player is like settling down or something of that ilk, you know? Like, something as like diametrically opposed as like, you know, the player settling down, the stalker finding Jesus, like the bankrupt homeless girl like hits the big time, you know, like, I don't know. It's just, it's that big of a shift, you know, is about to happen. Like, lightning is about to strike, you know. That's the message of this video. So, okay. The card that came out was perfect, so I'm going to pull one more because this is just like, this reading is kind of blowing my mind right now. Okay, this is beautiful. So we get unknown territory. You are exactly where you need to be. So it's just like, okay, this is kind of scary because we have no reference points. Like, you know, like this is completely uncharted territory, you know, like the player, like, offering his heart in this sweet way, you know, or like, settling down and like being happy. Like, there's no point of reference for this, but it's all right. Like, you're where you're supposed to be. This is happening exactly as it was meant to. So don't freak out. It's gonna be all right. And then embracing enthusiasm. Shout to the heavens with happiness. So It's like, I know it's kind of scary because this is like not in your playbook, you know, but don't worry. It's going to turn out all right. Like, keep the faith. This is good. This is a good change, you know. We're transforming to a new era, but it's good, you know. Just trust that it's going to be good. So, that's your message for today. This is pretty climactic, but in a good way. So, check it later.